Here we go. We got our salsify processed and ready for pickling. Let me try one. That looks pretty sweet. All right, today we're gonna go after one of my absolute favorite wild plants out here in Montana, and that is salsify. It's late spring, which means it's prime time to go look for them. Early spring, you go after the roots. Around this time, salsify will start to send up flower stalks. That's what we're looking for today. We're actually going to try to pickle them for the very first time. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it's good. And we'll explain all about the plant. Got my buddy Finn here from Germany. And Lindy is back. Finn is actually going on the Continental Divide Trail, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's called. And we're going to show him salsify because it grows all over Montana and the west, so hopefully he can get comfortable with it, and on the trail maybe he'll find some good wildflowers to
spice up my couscous at night with some wild edibles
for some camp cuisine. All right, so we're gonna try to find some here in the neighborhood quick, just because I've noticed the last few days that here in our neighborhood the salsify is a lot further than in nature. So they're already flowering here, and I want to show you guys and Finn what it looks like in flower, because that's kind of like a pretty important identification factor. So we're going to cut to that. See you in a sec. So here we got a salsify that's pretty far ahead. There's actually already one that started to flower and is closed up now. Here's a new flower coming up. We're going to go over some ID factors in a sec, but what I really want to show you is kind of what the flower looks like here, because we already have that in the neighborhood. Yeah. So you see the yellow flower, very similar to dandelion, Löwenzahn in German. Mm-hmm. And it'll have these bracts. These are called bracts. So those green parts, they'll be on the outside of the actual flower. Okay. And they're usually longer than the petals, but not always. There's another species of salsify where it looks very different. There's about 3 species that are pretty widespread. This one, another yellow flowered one, and then a purple flowered one, but I've never seen the purple flowered one myself. What's kind of cool about these flowers is that when it gets too hot or at night, they will actually close up, kind of like this one. Okay. And then they open up again. And another reason I like salsify is because now in late spring and summer, it's going to grow this main flower stalk, and it's going to have all these side shoots. Mm-hmm. So even though this is already flowered, you can now still harvest all these side shoots that sometimes come well into the end of June here. So like here's a small side stalk. Okay. Unopened flower. The flower hasn't even built itself yet. It's still in there. And so what I like to do is instead of grabbing the big one that already has the flower on it, because it's usually a lot tougher, I like to get the smaller ones. They're usually a bit more tender, like that one. Okay. And these are amazing when you like fry them in the pan. Yeah. Cast iron, saute them. They taste kind of like a sweet asparagus. We won't eat this one here because it's in the neighborhood. I don't trust the chemicals here, but once we're in nature, you'll get to try your first one. Okay. And then we'll go over some more ID factors out in nature, but overall it's a biennial, so you will find this as a 1-year, first-year plant where it's just a basal rosette growing underground, very flat. And then the second year looks like this, where it starts to grow the flower stalk. Okay. And the alternate leaves. Leaves are also kind of grass-like, much more V-shaped, and they have the milky sap, like dandelion, on any part of the plant when you break it. And it'll also have a little, right at the base of the leaf, there's a hole that goes all the way to the tip, and it's like an air bubble, like an air hole. So those are just some important ID factors for you to look for when you're hiking now. But beyond that...
Yeah, it's pretty sticky.
Yeah, it's sticky, right? Yeah, that's the sap. Beyond that, ID factor wise, if we find a better one outside in nature, I'll show you some other ones, but
Cool.
it's pretty hard to mess up, especially once it has a flower.
Yeah.
And by the time you're hiking down now from northern Montana down south, they're going to be flowering. So, yeah.
Cool.
All right, we're going to cut back to nature now. We're going to go into, just a more naturey spot, like some state land, some public land, and see if we can find some
so we can try
harvestable
it.
ones. Yeah, so we can try it. And I want for the pickling, I want some like this that haven't flowered yet.
So you're just taking the stalks or also the
We're going to take this whole thing and pickle this in the jar.
Okay.
And add our vinegar, and then we'll see how it goes. It might be good, it might not be good.
Okay.
Okay, we're in nature now on some public land. Gonna walk around, see how much salsify we can find. Out here, from what I've been noticing, it's not as far as in the neighborhood, so there shouldn't be as many flowered ones, which is why I wanted to come here. So let's keep going and see what we can find. Here, Finn, on the left, you'll see some salsify. See if you can spot them yourself. Good training.
I guess that's one without the flower.
Yes, sir. Let me throw you.
Yeah.
I'll throw you my knife. Ready to catch.
Safe.
There you go.
So cut it
Cool.
pretty far down. You want to feel them and make sure they're still soft, like tender.
Okay.
You know, they're not. There you go.
Yeah, you
That's
got
looking good.
the sap coming out.
Yep, sap's coming out. Got the V-shaped leaves. And then
Cool.
you see that wool stuff? We haven't talked about that yet.
Oh
Here,
yeah.
let me get in a bit closer at the camera to show people. Yeah, so right there's this woolly stuff. And it'll have that toward the base of the leaves usually.
Okay.
The salsify.
How can I tell if it's like too far gone already?
So when you try to bend it and it feels almost like woody,
Oh yeah.
it's too far. Though if it's at that stage where it hasn't flowered yet, it should still be great.
Okay.
It might just be a bit more crunchy,
Okay.
which for the pickling we're gonna want. So it looks like this one has some, actually has some fly eggs or something. Yeah, so don't eat that one.
Yeah.
We'll get some better ones.
Too.
Are they all like that?
Yeah, maybe we find another
Let's see.
spot.
Yeah, let's try to find another
There's another
spot
one.
then. That one better looking?
That one's good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You take off the skin, the first layer, or
You don't have to at all.
You
yeah,
can eat it
just,
like that.
You can just
Okay.
eat it like how it is.
Okay, let me try.
Should be kind of sweet. Lightly sweet. Is
Mhm.
it bitter at all?
Not at all.
Good. Sometimes it can be a bit bitter, but not really. I've more so found that in the roots.
Hmm.
All right, let's keep moving. This is a pretty nice one that we're gonna take. Still feeling pretty tender. You don't need a knife for these. It's nice to have, but you can easily just pinch them at the base. So as always, when you're harvesting wild food like this, try to do it in a sustainable manner. You know, if you see a spot with about 5 salsify there, don't get them all. You know, it's sometimes tough to find your spots, and you don't just want to plunder them to the point where you won't have more. And also now we are taking the flower stalks here, so they won't be able to seed, and they won't be able to spread their seeds and reproduce. Now,
Oh, that's tough.
salsify is a invasive here in many parts of the U.S. So some people would probably want you to gladly go out there and harvest all the salsify you can. And there's something to be said for that because they are invasive. But me as a forager and wanting them as a wild food source, I want my spots to keep producing year after year because they are such an awesome wild edible and easy wild edible to pick and learn about. And it can be very fruitful because they can be very dense in some of these areas.
Do we leave the leaves on for the pickling, or?
For the pickling, I think we will take some of the leaves off, but we'll see. Maybe we'll keep some to grill up tomorrow or something.
Oh yeah, for breakfast.
But for the pickling, I'm gonna try to. I'd like to just use the stalks with the little flower bud on top.
Cool.
You guys are doing good.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's
I see them growing
here.
everywhere.
Nice ones, Lindy.
So you can also eat the root of the plant?
Yep,
right?
you can also eat the root. We have another video on that actually that should be out in the channel before this one. And roots are best to be like if you dig them in the spring or in the fall. Now the plants that already are shooting up a flower stalk, the roots aren't the best anymore, because the roots is where the plant stores all the carbohydrates, and then it'll use the energy in the root to grow that flower stalk. So you kind of want to find ones that don't flower. So first year plants are the best for roots. And some people say they kind of taste like oysters. So it's called an oyster plant too. Yeah, they're good. Cool. But for a beginner forager, finding this, like finding the actual flower stalks now, is the easiest, and I would say the easiest to identify, and also the easiest to gather a lot of them in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Here's a cool looking one. We'll leave that. I don't see a bunch with a tall stem here yet. It's interesting how in the neighborhood they're already, really big, and here they're not. Yeah. And we're not only about 20 minutes away from where we live.
Yeah. I was thinking that about the dandelions here.
Yeah.
Like they're already done flowering.
Yeah.
And the ones we saw yesterday.
We're not. Yeah.
We're not.
It's interesting. It's because of different elevations here in Montana. Yeah. The foraging seasons can be drawn out quite a lot in different areas. Okay, Finn, I want to show you quick here. Lindy, come in a bit closer. I'm going to look at grass versus salsify. So, on the left here, this hand I got the salsify. Here we got some grass. At first sight it looks pretty similar. The leaves, this grass actually has pretty V-shaped leaves as well. Pretty deep ones, but you'll notice no sap, milky sap, and also in the bottom there's no air hole.
Yeah, right.
And it feels a bit different too. It feels sharper almost. This one, the salsify, is softer, more rubbery, I would say. Yeah. And you can also see the leaves here. A lot fewer leaves. It's starting to grow that grassy seed head up there. Yeah. So at first sight kind of looks similar, but when you take a closer look, it's quite different.
Good to go.
Okay, cooling off real quick in a very chilly Montana mountain creek. But we found a nice table here, this bridge. So we just lit the burner. This is Finn, so I'm gonna let him put it on. so he can practice for the trail.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it basically. And we're gonna do probably like 2/3 vinegar, 1/3 water. There's many different ways to do this. So it's going up to half a liter here. That's probably too much for our jar that we got. Let's just eyeball it. I'm just gonna do vinegar up to this line right there is probably good. Got some nice organic apple cider vinegar.
Oh, it's
nice.
hot already.
It's getting hot quick. That's probably good. The rest will do water. I like it a bit more sour, so we're gonna bring this to a boil. We got some spices here, about like 2 to 3 spoonfuls of salt, some bay leaf, and some what do you call? Oh no,
Shit.
there goes the bay leaf. That's all right.
I got
We
it.
can rinse it.
I got
We'll
it.
rinse it. Bay leaves, some peppers, and yeah, the salt. The salt will go in there, and the pepper we'll put in there now, so you can kind of dissolve. But the bay leaves we'll put straight in the jar. That's the jar we took now for pickling. A little bit of a taller one. And now until this boils, we are going to get some of the leaves off of our salsify. Finn's got more over there.
Yep.
I'm gonna try to pick the juicier ones. Leaves we can keep for a salad. So the leaves we take off, we'll put in the baggie here. And we're just gonna peel some of these off to get to that stalk. These are yours, right? Yeah, try to get the cleaner ones.
And the flowers.
Leave that, yeah, leave it on. Breathing some of this boiling apple cider vinegar in right now. Wonder if that's gonna make me feel a certain way.
So the thicker ones we keep, or?
Yeah, we'll keep them. So I mentioned earlier that the flower stalks are usually hollow, and that's what I've seen in the past, but it's not always the case. Like here we have a thicker one, and it's not hollow down here. I wonder if we break it a little further up, if that's gonna just break it with your... Here, I'll get my knife out.
That's a pretty tough one.
Yeah, it's a thick one. I'm just curious.
Oh yeah, there we go.
It's more hollow here.
It's opening up here.
Here we got one that's pretty woody in the bottom, so I'm just gonna take some of that off, and further up it's a lot more malleable, bendy, better for what we're trying to achieve. But again, since we are pickling, things are gonna soften up a bit, so maybe having a little bit of crunch in there is good. I think it would be. And it does have kind of this sticky sap like we mentioned earlier, so something to be aware of. Maybe don't get it on your favorite clothes, but I've never had an issue getting it out of anything. So
yeah, I guess it's a sign that you got the right plant.
That's
if
true.
your hands look like this afterwards.
Yeah, that is true.
What do you usually do with the leaves?
The leaves, salad, you can blanch them.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Just fry them up with some eggs? Or?
yeah, well, yep, exactly. And we just found a cool recipe in a book to turn them into noodles. So we're gonna do a video on that in the future here for people watching. That should be a fun one, a good test run. We've never done that, so.
Sticky.
Yeah, a bunch of that woolly stuff and the sap sticking on there. Here we go. We got our salsify processed and ready for pickling. I think we got enough here.
Yeah, we got some good ones.
Yeah, you know what, Dick? You kind of remind me of, there's a Pokemon that holds one of these in its beak.
I
think. Yeah. They kind of look, like a leaky almost now. So come in closer and we'll pickle her up. We did enough to really jam pack it in there, so it's a bit long. Should be fine though. Hopefully. Might have to do a few less once we add the liquid here. Let's try it.
All right.
You know what? I might do it upside down because there's a lot of empty holes here. All right, squeezing them all in there all at once didn't really work too well because we had a lot of empty space in the bottom. You don't really want that for pickling. So I'm just gonna put them in one by one, have the leafier part go more toward the bottom. Should have brought like a little plunger, not a plunger, what do you call it, a stuffer. But this way I'll have a bit more headspace for the pickling liquid to get in there. Okay, ready to put the water in. Not many air holes left. So we're gonna pour, not the water, the pickling liquid in there. See how much we can fit in. Real tight. and then upside down, and we'll let it sit like that. Looks like upside down. I'm just leaving it upside down for a while so you can build up some pressure, and then once it's ready to go, we're going to flip it back up, let it cool down for a bit here, and then in a week from now these should be good to eat. It's going to take a little bit for the pickling to do its thing, and yeah, hopefully they'll be tasty. Yeah, my butt's all wet now.
Oh yeah.
I had to get the angle. Oh, that's all right. So yeah, this should be good. We got a bunch left. We got some leaves left. We're gonna take those home, see what we can do with those.
Do you store it in the fridge or?
Yeah, so that's right. That's a good question. With the quick pickling stuff like this, I just usually store stuff in the fridge.
Okay.
If you actually were to pressure can it, then you can keep it in the shelf.
Yeah.
But usually once it's quick pickled, 3-4 weeks in the fridge is usually not an issue.
Cool.
And yeah, we'll see how this turns out. Sometimes I put a fermentation weight in the top just to keep everything submerged. But it's looking good here now. Especially once we turn it around, it should be all covered up. I'm gonna keep some of the liquid just in case I have to add a little bit more later. But right now it's looking good. All right.
Cool.
Thanks for the help, Finn.
Thanks for showing me everything.
Yeah.
It's gonna help me on the trail.
Yeah.
I guess.
Good. I hope so.
Yeah, get some greens in.
I hope so. Yeah, like you were saying earlier, in the trail it's tough to get the veggies and all that.
Exactly.
It is about 2 weeks later now, 2 to 3 weeks, and we have our quick pickled salsify here. Now I'm gonna try these out, see how they taste. Ideally, usually keep these in the fridge for a week or so, but they kind of got lost in the back of the fridge, honestly, and we had a lot to do, so this is when we're trying them. Let me open them up. I think this is going to be really tasty. Ooh, nice. We even had a little bit of a seal on there. Let me try one. That looks pretty sweet. Let's see if there's any crunch. That's good. It does taste a lot like vinegar. I did 2/3 vinegar, I think, and 1/3 water, if I remember. So maybe you could go a little less vinegar just to test it out, but the consistency is definitely still there. They're not mushy. And the flavor, a little bit, not a ton of it, but still, if you like pickled veggies, it's a great thing to do with the salsify. Because now you can make some burgers, charcuterie board, whatever you like, and have some wild veggies on the side. And it's a great way to preserve it, for later use. We could have probably even canned this, like pressure canned, and then at that point, they're shelf stable, unopened for months. I think this experiment is approved. Thanks for watching.